Hello, welcome. I'm Ann Prepper. Before we get started, let's get our little disclaimer out of the way. I am not a physician. I am not your doctor, nor am I providing medical advice to you. The information that we share here today is for informational purposes only. Today, we're going to talk about Calendula Officinalis, better known as pot marigolds. We'll talk about the health benefits, how to grow it, how to harvest it, and how to use calendula in teas, lotions, salves, and more. When growing and harvesting calendula, you need to know it's an annual, but it self-sows to give the illusion of a perennial in some zones. It requires full sun, and you want to keep the soil moist but well drained. You want to harvest calendula when the petals are dry, which is late in the morning or early in the evening. The flower petals are the municipal part of the plant. It'll bloom between May and November. You'll pluck the flower heads as soon as they open and place them in a paper bag to slowly dry in a place that's out of the sun. More flowers will grow every 3 to 4 days, and it keeps the plant reproducing flowers throughout the growing season. Now, warnings: do not take calendula if you're pregnant, nursing, or trying to conceive. If you take sedatives, high blood pressure pills, or diabetes medication, make sure you check with your physician before consuming calendula. Calendula Officinalis. The word officinalis means that there is a long history of several hundred years of using this particular plant for its medicinal properties. Calendula is best known for its ability to speed the healing of wounds and burns. It increases the blood flow, which increases the oxygen to the affected area, therefore helping the body create new tissue. It can be utilized topically or internally. Now, the flowers and petals are edible. They're commonly used in soups, stews, flowers, and is a great substitute for saffron in Indian recipes. Have you seen the price of saffron? But calendula is commonly found in beauty products for its ability to increase skin's hydration and firmness. It's also safe to use for diaper rash. Now, I seem to add calendula to just about everything I make. Teas, calendula oil, salves, lotions, creams, body butters, lip balms, soaps, and you name it. Today I'm going to show you how to make some of my favorite calendula products. So let's talk about calendula teas. Now, calendula contains strong antiseptic and healing properties. There's a few ways to utilize calendula tea are as an eye wash. If you have sore eyes, inflammation, or even pink eye, you can use calendula mouth rinse. It contains antiseptic and inflammatory properties. It's great for after dental work, gum infections. It can be used as an antiviral to help treat HIV, colds, the flu. You can make a face wash. It'll help heal acne and smooth the skin. You can use it in a foot soap. It'll get rid of athlete's feet and help with sprains and bruising. You can make a tetagerine to help with menstrual pains, digestion, gastric ulcers, urinary tract infections, irritable bowel syndromes, inflammatory bowel disease, and even leaky gut. You can make an herbal tea bath that'll help with skin infections, irritations of the skin, itching, even hemorrhoids. You can make a compression that's great for snake bites, wounds, or even burns. So, let's talk about the various types of calendula teas. There's tea for drinking. To make it, you'll take 1 teaspoon of dried calendula to 1 cup with 8 ounces of water. First, you'll crush all the flower petals and pour the boiling water over the petals. Now make sure that you cover the container and let it steep for 10 to 15 minutes. Strain to remove the plant matter and add honey to taste. To make the mouth rinse, you'll take 1 tablespoon of dry calendula to 1 cup 8 ounces of water, and do the same. Crush the flower petals, pour the boiling water over the petals, cover it, and let it steep for around 20 minutes to where it's cool enough that it won't burn your throat or mouth. So strain out the plant matter, add 1 tablespoon of honey, and stir until it's completely dissolved. Now gargle several times a day with it. Next we have herbal tea baths. You'll take 1/2 cup of dried herbs and 2 cups of water. Crush the flower petals and pour the boiling water over the petals and cover it just like we're making regular tea. Now let it steep until it's completely cool. This makes the tea stronger because you're not going to actually drink this tea. Now you'll strain out the plant matter and add it to 1/2 tub of water and soak in it for about 25 minutes. To make herbal compression, you'll take 1/2 cup of dry herbs and 2 cups of water. You'll crush the flower petals, pour your boiling water over it, cover it, and let it steep for 20 or 25 minutes. Now you'll strain out the plant matter, add a clean washcloth to the water and wring out the excess water. Now apply the cloth directly to the sprain or the wounded area and repeat several times a day to help alleviate pain, itching, and it accelerates the healing. Now to make the eye wash, you'll take 1 teaspoon of dry calendula and add to 1 cup, which is 8 ounces of water. You'll crush the flower petals, pour the boiling water over the petals, cover it, and let it steep until it's room temperature. Now you'll want to strain out the plant matter, and you may want to strain it twice just to make sure you don't have any particles left in the tea. And place it in eye dropper. Now when you go to utilize it, make sure that you do not touch the dropper part to your eye itself. So, now just about all the recipes call for calendula oil. Calendula oil is commonly utilized in homemade beauty products. And you can store your herbs in a carrier oil, which is like a mid-term storage solution. Alcohol has the longest shelf life, but it doesn't really work so well in our soaps and lotions. So to make calendula oil, which will last several years if it's stored in the right environment, it needs to be a dark, cool location where no direct sunlight comes in contact with it in an airtight container. Now, to infuse the calendula with the carrier oil, first you'll select the carrier oil based on your skin type. Common carrier oils include, but aren't limited to, almond oil. It's good for all skin types. There's avocado oil that's good for dry skin. Carrot seed oil is good for dry and older skin. There's jojoba oil. It's good for all skin types. There's olive oil, which is good for dry skin. Pomegranate, which is good for older skin. Rosehip oil is good for older skin, as well as wheat germ. Now, most of the carrier oils that pop into my head first are for drier or for aging skin. Now, there's probably 100 different types of carrier oils you can select from, but I tend to select some that's good for dry skin or older skin because I'm almost 50 now. But if you're a younger person, you may want to select some that's for oily skin or more towards the neutral or normal skin types. Now, to make the calendula oil, there are multiple methods for this. Each method is different, but the main difference between them is the amount of time it takes to actually produce the calendula oil. So, method number 1. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks. We'll take a cup of dry calendula flowers and 2 cups of carrier oil. We'll crush the flower petals before adding the oil to the jar. Now place it outside or in a windowsill for 2 to 4 weeks. You want to shake it several times a day. After the amount of time, you'll strain the plant matter out and store it in an airtight jar in a cool, dark location until you're ready to use it. Now the next method takes about 12 to 24 hours. You'll take 2 cups of your dry calendula flowers, add 4 cups of carrier oil. Now before you pour the oil in, you'll want to crush the flowers. But notice the difference between the ratio in method 1 and method 2. So in method 1, we used 1 cup of flowers, 2 cups of carrier oil. This one, we're doubling the recipe, and we're going to use 2 cups of flowers and 4 cups of oil. So you want to keep that consistent regardless of which method you utilize. Now what we'll do is after we crush the petals and pour in the oil, you'll turn it to the simmer, or it may say warmer on your crock pot. It's not the low nor the high, it's the one that just keeps it warm. And we'll let it sit with a lid for 12 to 24 hours. After that period of time, we'll strain out the plant matter and store in an airtight jar. Now notice there's a huge difference between 1 and 2, 12 to 24 versus 2 to 4 weeks. Now method 3, we'll go back to our 1 cup of calendula flowers with 2 carriers on. Now we'll crush our flower petals before adding the oil. But this time we're either going to use a double boiler over the lowest setting for 4 to 6 hours. But if you don't have a double boiler, you can do this. Use a shallow pot with about 1 inch of water in the bottom of the pot. Put your calendula flowers and your carrier oil in a mason jar with a lid. Now, it doesn't have to be on incredibly tight, just enough to keep it from splashing out of the jar when we kind of come around and swirl it. Now, instead of a double boiler, we'll use the mason jar. For whether you're in a double boiler or the mason jar, you need to stir about once every 30 minutes or so. But notice there's a huge difference between time, yet again. This will take 4 to 6 hours, which is quicker than the 12 to 24 in the crock pot or the 2 to 4 weeks outside. Now, for those of you who are always in a hurry or someone comes in needing help at the last moment, then I'll use method 4. Now, method 4 takes about 10 to 15 minutes to infuse the oil with the calendula flowers. Now, you'll take 1 cup of dry calendula flowers. I'll take 2 cups of carrier oil and put it in a quart-sized mason jar. Now, as always, crush the flowers before adding the oil to the jar and pour the oil on top, and you kind of give it a little swirl or two. Now, in this method, we'll actually use the blender. I have a 450-watt blender, so it'll take about 15 minutes in order for me to produce the calendula oil. So, first we'll take our blender and remove the bottom portion of the blender. Now, it'll expose the blades, take the little rubber ring out from around the blades, and we're going to move it below the blades. So you should have the plastic, then the ring, and then the round blade for the blender. And we just move it to the bottom just to make sure that the rubber ring doesn't wind up into our calendula oil. Now for the mason jar, we'll take paper tape and we're going to create kind of like a seal around the rim of the jar. So we're going counterclockwise about 1.5 times around. Now take the bottom of the blender and make sure your rubber ring, take one time that you should see it at the bottom. So the plate for the blades is what's closest to the jar. Alright, and you kind of turn it on and screw it back on like you're putting it back on the bottom of the blender cup. Now, you can flip it up and you can see it's not leaking. Ta-da! Now, place it back on the blender just as you would the cup, and you have a blender cup that's completely sealed. Now we're going to turn the blender on high, and it kind of like a puree or a chopping motion on high speed for about 15 minutes. Now, if you have a blender that doesn't run at 450 watts, then you're going to want to increase the watts. So for a 350 watt blender, you want to do about 20 minutes. I'm at 450, I'll use 15. But if you're 700 or higher, then you'll only need about 10. Now once it's done, be careful, the jar is hot. It actually slightly heats up, so it's very warm. It's not like touching the iron on the stove or anything hot, but it is very warm. So use a coat glove or something, and then you're going to strain the plant material out of the oil. Now, we'll store our calendula oil in an airtight jar in a cool, dark location. So, what is really the difference, and how did it work out for us in the end with utilizing one of the 4 methods? So, I'm not a doctor nor a chemist, so let's take a look. Well, clearly, it's 2 days later and this one's still not ready yet. Give it a shake, we'll put it back outside and wait. The next one up is the one that we use 12 to 24 hours in the crock pot. You can see it's got nice little color to it now. Looks nice. The next one was 4 to 6 hours, utilizing the double boiler or the mason jar in an inch of water. And it's not quite as dark as the crock pot method, but still looks lovely. And then we have the blender method number 4. It's by far the darkest looking infused oil. Calendula is wonderful alone, but when you combine it with other plants, it makes calendula even better. So we have plantain, which is great for wounds and burns. So if you're making a salve, then you might want to include a little plantain in with your calendula oil. Now, if you have a child who plays a sport, you may be more interested in its sprains and inflammation is a daily occurrence in your life, then maybe you want to add a little St. John's wort to your calendula oil when you're making it. Now, if you have internal issues, or if you're making some type of medicine or a tea blend or something that you might actually ingest, then maybe you want to add a little comfrey in it. Now, you can use the leaves or the root. The root's a little stronger, but it's great. It helps with indigestion, heartburn, gut. But keep these in mind when making any of your beauty products, creams, lotions, that you can actually blend herbs with other herbs to intensify the healing powers of the herbs. So, you'll follow the same processes for making teas and calendula oils, but substitute part of the dry calendula for other dry herbs. So just follow that same kind of process, and don't think that you should double up on things. Give things time. Most medications, as well as herbal medications, require several days to actually get into your system and to start making the difference in the way you feel. Now, don't double up, because you can, just like with medication, with herbal medicine, you can actually hurt yourself. Make sure that you consult a doctor before you start any herbal regimen. Now, the other thing that we can select from is the type of essential oils and lotions, salves, soaps, and things. Just like with the calendula oil that you can swap out carrier oils, you can select essential oils based on skin tips. So if you have dry skin, stick with rosemary, lavender, or even rose. Aging skin, you want to use geranium, frankincense, or even lavender. For healing, you'll use clove, eucalyptus, lavender, tea tree, or even peppermint. So during the course of watching the videos, we'll make everything. You can swap out any of the essential oils or any of the carrier oils for something that's more suited to your skin type.